Hello, and thank you for joining us on the Optimal Wealth Podcast, where we discuss creating passive income through real estate. Our mission is to help educate investors on how to grow wealth and invest passively. My name is Jarod Alexander, and I am a passive investor, currently in 6 syndications as a limited partner. I am also the founder of Optimal Equity Group, which is a real estate investment firm that was created primarily to help educate the passive investor. We do that in a couple of different ways. One is we provide education to help give you the confidence to get into the passive investing space. And two, each episode we will interview amazing guests that explore the strategies, insights, and secrets used by successful investors. Whether you're a seasoned investor or just starting out on your real estate journey, this podcast is designed to help give you the confidence and knowledge you need to make informed and profitable decisions. Welcome to another episode of the Optimal Wealth Podcast. I'm your host, Jarod Alexander, and today I got a guest on the show who's a master of helping individuals and teams break free from their comfort zones and achieve goals they never thought possible. He is a Wall Street Journal #1 bestselling author, leadership expert, and has the #2 TEDx talk in the world. He's here to share proven strategies to help you reach and exceed your potential personally and professional. And today I want you to get ready for powerful insights on leadership, personal growth, and breaking barriers. All right, and if you're ready to level up and step into greatness, you're in the right place. So we're going to dive in here. Terry Fossum, welcome to the show.
Jarod, thanks so much for having me, man. I really appreciate it. And I appreciate how you're helping everybody create long-term generational wealth through investing in real estate. I'm not sure there's any better place to invest. So great job, man. I appreciate it.
Well, thank you, Terry. I appreciate that. And it's a fun process, doing this podcast and meeting great guests like yourself and just really getting to dive into obviously how we can create generational wealth, like you mentioned, but also how we can optimize all areas of our life, right? Family, relationships. We definitely talk about finances, but how do we really dive in? And, we're going to talk a lot about goals today. And I do want to mention, as we start this podcast, this is going to be different than our typical real estate podcast, on achieving passive income and diving into different syndications and different operators. With Terry here, he's as you just heard from the introduction, he's a master at just diving in and helping others, with this ox cart technique that he's developed over the years. And so we're going to dive in and Terry, there's no perfect time to be doing this right now. As we're coming to the end of 2024. We're recording this podcast on December 18th. I know I'm looking at my goals for 2025, what I want to achieve. And I'm really excited to dive in to bring some techniques around the goals, because I know you're going to throw some stats at us and stuff of it's so easy and it's so exciting at the beginning of the year to, all right, I'm going to accomplish this and I'm going to do this and I'm going to do this. And come into January, early February, that motivation wears off, that flame starts to, fizzle out a little bit. And how do we keep motivated, right? How do we stay on track, stay on process? Well, folks, today Terry's going to walk us through that. He's got a technique, again, that he's helped tons and tons of people, walk through this process. So without further ado, Terry, I think I want to set the stage a little bit. And so we just read all your accomplishments, in the introduction I gave you, but you didn't start there, did you?
Oh, God, no. No, not at all, man. And that's the funny thing. People see me on TV, winning a survival show or in movies or all this other kind of stuff. I don't even know who that guy is. But one thing I can tell you, that's not who I am. That's just something, some things I've done. But that is not where I started. I was raised in literally the poorest city in the entire United States of America, a small Texas-Mexico border town by the name of McAllen. And you've heard of it in the news. If you see anything about the border crossings or, the cartels coming across, that's my hometown. And don't get me wrong, I love my hometown. I really do. Anytime I go back there, I eat my way through my hometown because it's amazing food, amazing people. But it can be a little rough growing up there sometimes with all the gangs and the drugs. In fact, I was on the wrong end of an assault rifle in junior high in my own back alley. In high school, my dad, my hero, was killed. And before he died, one of the neighbors came up to him and said, I just want to make sure you understand something. Those three sons of yours, your three boys, not a single one of them's ever going to grow up to be anything. So that's where I came from. That's my background. And so, yeah, if you're looking for some silver spoon son of a gun who's always had it great, you're talking to the wrong guy. But if you're looking for the person that's been through the struggles, been through the trials, had the same fears and self-doubts and excuses and everything else as you have, or pretty much anybody, and figure out a way through them, thank God, literally, well, I'm your man.
I mean, I heard a quote the other day, and is we are most qualified to help the person we used to be.
And I love that. I love that. That's fantastic.
Yeah, and it's so true. It gives me chills saying it because it's coming from a place like that, Terry, which, a guy telling you you're not going to amount to nothing. And probably at that time, you got to wonder, right? Like, with the life you're living and stuff. And it's like, man, how am I going to get out of this?
Yeah.
Right. But like you said, and, I've heard you say it before, that lit a spark in you. Like, I'm going to prove this SOB wrong.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think that led you to, the man you are today and being able to share these experiences. But I like how you can come at it from a humble point of view, right? And not the silver spoon fed, which, hey, if you grew up with that, that's fine. But I think going through these experiences makes us have an appreciation of the things we have in life today compared to what we experienced when we did grow up, or when times weren't as good as they could be. So Terry,
yeah, absolutely.
Let's talk about, I think this is a good segue into getting out of your comfort zone. Okay. So one of my sayings for 2024 is I got to be comfortable being uncomfortable.
Good.
And so, as we go through this goal setting process and things, how do we get out of our comfort zone? How would you answer that?
Okay, here's the deal. I love that. That makes me very happy, Jarod, that's your goal, because that's the only way that you're going to progress. It's the only way you're going to reach your goals. Let's talk, y'all. As we do say down in Texas, and we do say all y'all too. So here's the deal. 92% of the people that set a goal fail. 92%. So we might not be talking specifically about real estate investing here, but we are talking about that and every other aspect of your life. Because like Jarod said, we're not just talking about financial goals. We're talking about marital goals. 50% fail. How about diet goals? 74% fail. I forget the percentage. I believe it's 60% of the people who go to a gym stop going within the next 3 months as we're getting into the new year here. Why? With all the stuff on goal setting and self-improvement and mantras and the universe and all, how can that be? Well, Jarod, here's why. Most of what we're being taught about goal setting is either incomplete or completely wrong. And that's what we're going to talk about today, folks. We're going to talk about exactly why and how. And we're going to talk about that comfort zone because Jarod's nailed it, as he often does. Okay. It is all about getting out of your comfort zone because that's where your dreams and people go to die. Now, let me explain that a little bit better. Now, I've done different adventures all around the globe, everything from solo trekking up deep into the Arctic Circle to doing survival in the Amazon jungle and lots of other stupid things. And I learned a little bit about hypothermia. Hypothermia is a fascinating thing in that, first of all, of course, you feel cold, right? You feel, man, I'm cold. God, I'm cold. I'm so cold. And you start to shiver. Well, that shivering is your body's response. It's trying to create heat. It's trying to create energy. That's why it's shivering. But at some point, if that doesn't work, it stops shivering. And at some point, you don't feel cold anymore. And at some point, you go to sleep. And at some point, you die. And that's exactly what happens with our comfort zones. To begin with, you're like, wow, man, I feel uncomfortable. So you try to do something, you try to take action. So you make those phone calls, or you do the things you're supposed to be doing. You know they're on your daily goal list. You're supposed to do them. You do a little bit of them. But then, like you said, well, you kind of get out of that and you don't do it. But you try again. Okay, wait, I'm going to do it again. And then eventually you just stop doing that because you're going to reach that goal again. And you stop trying, and you fall asleep in your own sort of way, and you die in your own sort of way. Here's the problem with what's being taught about goal setting today. Most of it will actually keep you in your comfort zone. And here's how. We're taught positive visualization, right? You know what I'm talking about, Jarod?
Yep.
Absolutely. Positive visualization. And let me say, first of all, it is important, okay? It is important. Don't get me wrong with what I'm about to say. But there's a missing piece of the puzzle. It's not all important. In fact, if all you're doing is going, all I need to do, I love this one, it drives me insane. All you need to do is visualize your goals, and the universe will go to work and make it happen for you. I'm sorry, folks, if I'm hurting anybody's feelings, but it's not true, okay? The Lord helps those who help themselves, and so does the universe. You are not going to reach those goals by sitting on your butt and dreaming about it. And in fact, why I believe that's counterproductive is because when we think about those things, positive visualization, mantras, dream boards, etc., it makes us feel good. It makes us feel comfortable. All we got to do is sit there and things are going to happen for us. And then we don't take those actions. You might have heard of the Harvard goal setting study. Have you heard of that one, Jarod?
I have heard that in passing from podcasts I've listened to. Yes.
Yeah, absolutely, man. The Harvard goal setting study, it's on podcast still. It's still being taught about on stages around the world. #1 best-selling books. And here's the cool thing about it. It talks about the result of that study was that the people who wrote down their goals, the very few people were making more than all the rest of the people that didn't write down their goals combined.
No.
Another iteration of it that I've heard is, in fact, 100% of the people who wrote down their goals achieved them, 100%, which would be fantastic if it was true. Problem is, it's not true. People are still saying this, but Harvard has discredited it. It said, we never did that study. It never happened. It's been debunked. So people think, all I got to do is write down my goals and I'll achieve. No, writing down your goals is important, but it's not enough. Prospect theory, which was developed in 1973 by Kahneman and Tversky, prospect theory taught us that we'll do more to avoid pain than to go toward pleasure. We'll do more to avoid pain than to go toward pleasure. So getting out of our comfort zone is painful. What that means is no matter how much positive visualization we do, it's not going to be enough to pull us out of our comfort zone. So what do we need to do? We need to create a scenario that's more painful than getting out of our comfort zone. That'll push us out of our comfort zone and into our conquer zone. Is this making sense so far, Jarod?
It is, yeah.
You're with me?
I'm with you. Yeah.
All right.
I'm relating a lot to you too. So I'm head nodding and I'm jotting down notes here, Terry. Yeah.
Well, Ted, go ahead. Let's take a break from me for a second. What about what I'm saying is relating to you? What are you thinking?
The biggest thing that hit me with the comfort zone, I get this physical reaction when things get uncomfortable, right? This anxiety, this like, and it's working through that again to that uncomfortable zone, being uncomfortable, right?
Right.
And I notice when I do push through that, I feel better. So for example, Terry, I did a speaking engagement, one of my biggest ones I've done so far at a real estate conference earlier in Scottsdale, just about a month ago now. I was very nervous, right? I wanted to deliver, and it was a panel topic. I almost, I strive better in just giving a presentation, where I'm in control, but a panel, I don't know what's coming at me, this, and, I got to be on it, right? And and I got a lot of people I respect in the audience and that are really doing big things. And so anyways, I wanted to deliver, but I had that pit. I had that anxiety of getting into that uncomfortable zone. I just was like, okay, I showed up and I did it.
Mhm.
But I think and what also was going through my head is, and now it's the consistency, because that was the goal. Hey, beyond different stages, right? And I did a couple throughout the year, in different formats, whether it was a presentation of just people getting together or, being on a stage, but it's the consistency in doing that. And I think that's what I struggle with as well, is like I have a lot of great ideas. I put them down on paper, Terry, like you're mentioning. And then, yeah, it's the consistency and going through. So, yeah, that's what's going through my mind. Hopefully that made sense there. Yeah.
No, it absolutely did. And what people don't understand is the comfort zone is elastic. It's not concrete, man.
Yeah.
It will stretch with you. Now it'll stretch back, but it will stretch with you. The more you get outside of it, the more it becomes comfortable, like you're saying.
Yeah.
So when Kahneman and Tversky came up with this prospect theory that taught us again that we'll do more to avoid pain than to go toward pleasure, when they applied that to economics, they won the Nobel Prize. What I did is I applied it to goal setting. Now, I'd love to say to everybody, I was so cool, I was so smart that I came up with this just because I'm brilliant, but that's not the truth. What happened is I failed, and I failed. See, I got into business, and man, I'm going to rock it. I set my goals, and I failed, but I'd listen to more positive motivation stuff, and okay, I'm really excited, and I failed. I wrote down my goals, and I did my dream boards. I did everything that they taught me to do, and I failed, and I failed, and I failed. And Jarod, I got to the point where I just couldn't fail anymore. And I gave up. It's painful to admit this, but it's true. I quit. I gave up. I couldn't do it. And I walked into my bathroom and I looked at myself in the mirror. I said, I guess that guy's right. You're never going to grow up to be anything. And wait a minute. Wait a minute. No. For the sake of the memory of my dad, if nothing else, I refuse to let that son of a gun be right. And something happened, Jarod, man. Something snapped inside of me. I got pissed. And I got back up and I brushed myself off and I got back at it. Now, I still hit the same disappointments and setbacks and all the bad stuff that happened before, but now I did it with a different power, not to go towards some positive visualization, some carrot that I never believed would happen to a kid like me. I'm not going to be rich and have a fancy house and all that crap. And I don't care anyway. I'm my happiest in a tent.
Right.
But rather something to go away from the stick and the carrot and the stick scenario. Never grew up to be anything. It was no longer about the why I want to do something. It's now about the why I must do something. And that kept me going, man, because that scenario of failure in my head, never grew up to be anything, was more painful than any pain of rejection or people thinking I'm an idiot or my fears or none of that. That pain pushed me out of my comfort zone every single day as long as I focused on it. And that's how the ox cart technique was born. I put it to a parable. I adapted an old parable, the carrot and the stick. I started succeeding. I ended up reaching me. Okay, now y'all know who I am, okay? You know where I come from. I reached the top fraction of 1% of my entire industry in the stinking world. And when I applied this, I put this in a book and it hit number one. I mean, you heard it hit number one best-selling book on Wall Street Journal, number one best-selling book on Amazon, number one best-selling book on Barnes and Noble, best-selling book on USA Today. Forrest Mims III, named one of the 50 best brains in science in the world, said the ox cart technique, that I called it, is the most significant advancement in the science of goal setting in recent history. It was lauded by some of the top names in science and business and self-improvement in the flipping world. People I looked up to were calling this thing the best thing since sliced bread. And yeah, like you said, it is subject number 2 TED Talk in the world. I'm I'm teaching it through stages, coaching. Life's just gotten a little bit different than expected. And thank God for it. So now it's my job to teach other people, not just like we said, your business, but your marriage. Because if you don't have that relationship, you're not going to excel in business, at least not for long. And you're not going to keep all of it. Half of it's going to go away. And your health, if you don't have that, nothing else matters, man. So yeah, that's what's going on. And that's in a condensed version, what it's all about.
That's awesome, Terry, and congratulations on the success you've had. I would just say thus far, right? Because I'm sure there's more to come as you keep getting the word out there, and just the word comes that you just keep showing up, right?
Yeah,
and
yeah.
and that's what you did in that mirror that one day, where you're just beaten down, broken, and I'm relating to you as you're going through this because I've had those moments, honestly, just recently, and it's crazy because I really have no evidence to support the way I feel,
Uh-huh.
right? But my head just tells me stuff that just isn't true, and it's, oh my gosh, and the self-doubt and this and that, and externally looking at it like, why would you feel this way? But man, I'm sometimes my own worst enemy, and I like the reference you gave, and I remember somebody had told me that it's like, I love sports, love football, right? And it's like getting hit really hard in a football game and getting penalized for something you just didn't do, right? Life's not fair sometimes. It hurts, but you get up, you brush yourself off, and you go to the next play. And before you know it, you look back and you're moving down the field. And sometimes it's 3 yards at a time. Sometimes you get that 10, 15, 20 yarder, but you're moving down the field, right? But in that moment, when you're hit and hurting, it doesn't feel like you're going anywhere.
Yeah. Well, and sometimes you get that 10-yard penalty too.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Sometimes you fumble the ball.
Yeah. Turn it
It's
over.
it's
Yeah.
all part of the game, though, isn't it?
It is. It is. And I would love for you, if you could, walk the audience through that parable.
So and again, I wanted to figure out, how do I explain prospect theory and framing studies and loss aversion and all that kind of stuff. That's where I came back. Stories have been how we learn for generations and generations and generations.
Yeah.
So that's why I started off the book with the farmer and the ox cart. There once was a farmer who lived on very fertile land, but he had no way to get his crops to the market just across the river. Well, why don't you build a bridge? The village elder asked him. I'm a farmer. I don't know how to build a bridge. Well, ask the carpenter. He knows how to build many things. And sure enough, the farmer learned from the carpenter how to build a bridge, and he got to work building it. Now the farmer had his bridge, but he had no way to pull his cart full of vegetables across the bridge to the market. So he bought an ox from the village elder. It was a good ox, a strong ox. But when he brought it home and attached it to his cart, he refused to pull the cart anywhere. This ox is no good, he said to the elder. I want my money back. Well, how did you motivate him? Motivate him? He's an ox. He should know what to do and do it. Do you always do what you're supposed to do? Or do you need to be motivated sometimes yourself? Find out what the ox likes and reward him when he does right. Well, the farmer knew that the ox's favorite treat was carrots, sweet and juicy. So he dangled a carrot just in front of the animal's head, and the ox moved forward to get it, pulling the cart behind him. And that worked great, as long as the ox was hungry. But when he wasn't, it didn't work at all. Angry again, the farmer approached the elder. What am I supposed to do when the carrot doesn't do the trick? Sit beside the road till he's hungry enough? This just won't do. What do you do when you don't feel like working, but know you have to anyway? Well, I think of how the crops will rot in the field and my family will starve. That gets me out of bed no matter how tired I am. Okay. What is it that the ox doesn't like? Well, he hates for anything to touch his tail. My son grabbed it the other day and just about paid the price. Okay, at the times when the carrot doesn't work, try tapping his tail with a stick. Well, that worked so well that most times just showing the ox a stick was enough to get him going. Well, that farmer was sure proud of the shrewd purchase he'd made. That's the best ox I've ever had. Sometimes the carrot worked. Sometimes the stick worked. He always got his crops to the market. That's the parable. Hopefully everybody can see the different parts in there. The carrot is that positive visualization that you'll go toward as long as you're hungry enough. When the times that doesn't work, which is most of the time, the stick will work. It's about creating that stick. And we can go into some detail in here in a bit if you like. We still have time.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know how to, all those things you talked about that I've done, I didn't know how to do those. I found out people who are smarter than me and learned from them. That's exactly what the farmer did from the carpenter. And of course, building his bridge was his daily action plan, how he's going to go from failure, crops rotting in his fields, to success, crops to the market. And that's exactly what we do as well. We develop our daily action plan. The difference is, how do you stick to it? Anything you want to say before you go into the details of the plan, or?
You know what, Terry? I think you just teed me up for the next segment I want to get into, and I want to get into some strategies, right? And we'll share. We're Terry. Spoiler alert: Terry's got a new book coming out. I want to just kind of dive into now, just some strategic strategies on if somebody's and let's simplify it, Terry, if we could, because there's so many, like you had mentioned. I mean, there's so many things out there, and I've tried a bunch of them myself, right? And some are helpful, but some of it can just stress you out and overwhelm you too, right? It's like you're doing a whole workbook on goal setting, and your next thing it's like, what else do I write down, or what don't I write? What am I doing? What am I not doing? And so if we could, and I think you're going to do really, you have a really great way of going about this, is let's just simplify the process. So if somebody is just looking into, all right, hey, again, we're at the perfect time to be talking about this. 2025 is coming up. What are some goals? How would you teach them to approach that, or what would you suggest?
Absolutely, man. It is so simple, and it's got to be for us to stick to it, right? And yeah, the book, we're rebranding it. It's going to be kicking out again. Might be out by the time this podcast airs, called Never Miss a Goal Again. Never Miss a Goal Again. And I mean it. So look for my name, Terry L. Fossum. Also got my TED Talk out there, my podcast, Comeback Chronicles. We talk about this. But here's the deal. Okay, guys, let's go bottom line. I'm a bottom line guy. We've taken all the theory. We've broken it down to something very simple. 3 pieces of paper. That's it. 3 pieces of paper. Okay. The first piece of paper is going to be your failure scenario. This is your stick. This is why you must reach your goal, okay? What you're going to go away from. Very powerful. But this is important. Emotion, not fact, is the driver of all action. Again, emotion, not fact, is the driver of all action. If you want to be driven, make it emotional. Now, this may be painful doing this. And by the way, don't do anything that's going to cause you any harm. If you need to have a professional, go with that. But here's the way to do it. Whatever your goal is. In fact, let's talk about marital goal. Okay, let's talk about that one. Think about your failure scenario. My actual failure scenario, my actual ox cart technique for my marriage is in the book. You're going to read something very, very personal to me in the book. Then when I was doing the audiobook, I had to stop several times because I kept tearing up. Write on that piece of paper, what happens if you don't reach your goal? Again, let's talk marital. I mean, for me, I'm married into 3 preteen and teenage boys. These are my stepsons. And we worked hard as a family for a long time. Now, if I screw up, number one, this amazing woman that I married, that I'm head over heels in love with, Jarod, she's, I mean, you can tell by my stammering, she's just flipping amazing, man. I'm madly in love. And when we look at each other, there's this amazing look of love. On my failure scenario is her looking at me with pain in her eyes, that I've hurt the most important person in the world to me, somebody that I swore I would take care of and protect for the rest of my life. And those 3 boys who I helped raise will never talk to me again, odds are. And all the gifts they gave me, instead of seeing love in them, I'm just going to feel the pain. And it goes on like that. And I read that, and Jarod, I can tell you, I look at that and I go, there's no way on God's green earth that I will let that happen. I will do whatever it takes to make sure that doesn't. What does it take? that leads us to the second piece of paper. Now, can you feel the emotion already?
Yeah.
Yeah. That second piece of the paper, that's your action plan. That's your bridge, like the farmer in the ox cart went over, your bridge from failure to success that we'll talk about in a second. And on there are the daily things I will absolutely do to make sure that failure scenario never happens. Things like I won't screw up, and you know exactly what I'm talking about, right? Yeah. I don't care how much I get hit on, if I actually do. It doesn't matter because I'm not going to let that failure scenario happen. I don't care. There's nothing that would be worth that. I'm not going to let my eyes stray when they shouldn't. I'm not going to look at pornography. Let's just go into things like I'm going to tell her I love her several times a day, starting first thing in the morning and last thing at night. I'm going to do nice things for her without any expectation of return. I'm going to keep my bodily noises to myself. I'm going to be a gentleman at all times. I found out the things that are important to her because how we communicated, whoa. And I make sure and do those every single flipping day. So that is written out on that second piece of paper. And we'll equate this back to business in a second. Third piece of paper, my success scenario. How amazing it's going to be 10 years from now, if God gives me the grace to live that long, when we're looking back at our life and we're still amazingly in love. And this is on there. We'll walk down the street, watch TV, we're still holding hands. And it goes on and on how amazing that'll be, and being able to be there for my grandkids, etc. Now, every single morning, and here's the way it works. You read them in order, failure scenario that creates that emotion to take those actions. You read that failure scenario, and again, whatever it is, by the end of it, if you've done it right, you will go, there's no way in the world I'll let that happen. I'll do whatever it takes. You read that in the morning, it focuses you on that action plan for the day. And by God, you'll take them. And then end up with your success scenario. And that amazing feeling that comes from it because you did take your actions. Problem, solution, format. You start off with discord and you end up feeling amazing and empowered and focused. You do the same thing at the end of the day. Read that failure scenario. Read your action plan. How did I do today? And you read that success scenario feeling either, oh crap, I better do better tomorrow, or amazing because you did the right thing. You want to jump in on anything before we equate that back to business or specifically real estate goals?
Yes, I do. And thank you for going through that, especially with your relationship. And I'm really happy to hear that is going well, and you bring that level of commitment to your relationship, and you can hear it through their emotion. I know the audience can hear it as well as they're going to be listening to this. This is a man that's in love with his wife, right?
Yeah.
And is happy, right? And I would go as far to say I'm sure she's happy too. Why would we do all this, Terry? Why would we do all our goals and want to achieve them if we got nobody to experience them with?
Yeah.
Which that hit me right upside the head as my wife and I were going through this, and that was a year or two ago. But why, right?
Well, it's critical, and we start off talking about this, but to me, life is a three-legged stool. You've got your finances, your business, whatever that might be. You've got your relationships, and you've got your health. And if any one of those legs is gone, the stool topples over. Mm-hmm. And for me personally, and I don't care what anybody else's religious beliefs are, for me, spirituality wraps into every single aspect of that. But I think that's critical. So when I'm teaching this, when I'm doing coaching sessions, when I'm doing seminars, et cetera, we go into the relationship one. And I will tell you this, Jarod, when we're doing that, at least half the audience is in tears. And I don't care how big, manly men, whatever, they're in tears. And that's when I know it's working. Yeah. That's when I know we've hit those emotions. Because again, emotion, not fact, is the driver of all action. And the decision to succeed doesn't happen once. It happens every single day by the actions we take and do not take in your business, in your relationships, in your health, in everything.
Yeah. Yeah, no, absolutely. Let's do this because I want to tie it back to business but I'm really glad you hit on that. And what level of commitment are you willing to show up, right?
Yeah.
What level of commitment are you willing to bring to these areas of life? And they are their emotion. I mean, the facts is if you just do X, Y, and Z, you're going to get this result, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is easy to look at on paper, but emotions drive like that anxiety of being up on that stage I was talking about, or whatever, right? Like people show up based on how they feel. People respond
Yes.
on how they feel, right? And
Yeah.
so, but yeah, so let's tie it back to business, or if you want to touch on health, but yeah, let's keep going through this process. So we've just to kind of review here, we've talked about the importance of emotion and goal achievement. So we write down our failure and our success. We repeat those back. We read that success and failure scenarios out loud twice daily. So in the morning, preferably, and then at night, kind of a review of the day. How did I show up?
Yep.
And so let's go to the next, which I maybe like action oriented mindset.
Here's the deal. And let me tell on myself again, but I think this is important also. It goes right along with it. On my daily action plan, so that middle piece of the paper, I don't set goals. I set absolutes. I will absolutely not do it. Come a heck or high water, I will do that. And let me give you an example. Okay, I was in the military. I was the executive officer for an entire group of nuclear B-52 bombers during the Cold War. I didn't have time to think. I didn't have time to start a business. I didn't have time to pee. Okay. And if you go to the top middle desk drawer of any XO in the military, just top middle desk drawer, you will find a huge bottle of Malanta, no spoon. We don't have time for that crap. We just guzzle it down, and a very large bottle of aspirin. That's my gig. Now, all too often, we hear people say, well, I don't want to start that right now because now's not a good time, right? You've heard people say that, or I want to wait until the time's right because when I do something, I like to do it all the way. Bull crap. That's an excuse. That's your fears. That's your self-doubts. That's your excuses talking, okay? I decided I wanted to start a direct sales business while doing that. Now, back in my day, we didn't have all this newfangled computer stuff. We had videos. In fact, VHS videos. If you're too young to know what that is, look in the history books or the museums or something. God, I feel old. Now, I was part because I think it's really important to be accountable to other people. So I wanted to have an accountability group every single morning at 6 o'clock in the morning. Accountability group, 3 other people. The problem with that, Jarod, is this was not an accountability group. This was an excuse support group because everybody came with their excuses. It was basically like we're a bunch of excuseaholics. Hi, my name's Terry. I'm an excuseaholic, right? I'd get on that call and these people would have their excuses why they didn't reach their goals for that day. I set absolutes. I will give out 3 videos every single day. 3 videos. Okay, sounds great. Now, here's the problem. I'll be at the end of a day. It's 9 o'clock at night. I'm exhausted. I've been going at it all flipping day long. I'm done. I got to go home. I got to catch a few hours sleep, come back, do it all over again. I go down, I grab my bag. Oh, crap. There's a video there. Okay, that's all right. Because people know what I do for a living. If I don't always reach my goals for the day, they'll understand. Ever make excuses like that, Jarod?
Yes, sir.
Absolutely. See, here's the problem. It doesn't matter if they'll understand. Success doesn't care what your excuse is. There's only 2 things, success or excuses. If it's not success, it's merely an excuse. So, okay, but that's okay because tomorrow I'll do 4. I only did 2 today. Tomorrow I'll make 4. It'll average out. That's fine. No, that's an excuse. That's the slippery slope because tomorrow maybe I'll do 4, but I probably won't. Then the next day I'll do 2. The next day I'll do, before I know it, I'm an excuseaholic too. So I'd find somebody 9 o'clock at night that I could hand that video to, bringing it back to your business for the listener now. Okay. Don't set your goals, set your absolutes. You've got to decide how you are going to get a hold of these properties, how you're going to develop these properties, who you're going to contact, what you're going to do outside of your comfort zone that helps you build this residual income, build this long-term generational wealth that Jarod teaches you how to do. You need to set that down on that piece of paper every single day. And no matter what, you must do those. Do not set goals, set absolutes, come heck or high water, because if you don't, your failure scenario could end up being your future. But if you do, your success scenario will be. So I ended up, as you know, doing extremely well, being very, very blessed. The other 3 people on that phone call, they believe their excuses, and they were nice to each other, because the people who care about us, they don't want to hurt our feelings. They want to be there for us.
Yeah.
That's not helping. And those folks, they're wonderful people, I'm sure. I might have contact with them. The people who know them love them, but they didn't reach their goals. Does that help bring everything back home to everybody listening in, Jarod?
It does. It does, Terry. And it's so interesting. I guess I'm just, being vulnerable here today, but I was talking to a good friend that I respect, and, somebody that calls me out on my stuff. And we have permission to do that, right?
Yes.
I
Yeah,
have
critical.
permission to do that with him, and he has that to do that with me. And it was kind of one of those things that we had chatted, I don't know, a week and a half, 2 weeks ago about something that I was gonna do, and the excuses started coming, Terry. And now there was some sickness, there was, some sick, been having some sick kids, there was some stuff going on, and and I can rationalize it all
Yeah.
I want, but
Yeah.
the bottom line is I just didn't do it. I
Yeah.
could have, because there was a few days in there I could have completed some of these tasks, right? And now they're going to be on my list, and I will get them done. But I think it's important because you lose, and I don't know if this is the word, but this is the word that's coming to mind, is some self-worth too.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Yeah.
Right? Like, it's like, oh my gosh, I failed again. I was gonna do this, and now, and I guess it's like I feel like a failure now when I don't complete these. And I think that's why a lot of people probably quit too, Terry, on their goals, right? You said 92%
Yeah.
of people, that set their goals fail.
Yeah.
Right? Because I start looking at these and I don't complete them, and I'm like, oh my God, what am I doing? I'm a failure.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
No.
And what this teaches you is to let your failure fuel your fire. You look at that, you don't let it tear you down. The stick isn't there to beat yourself up with. The stick is there to build a fire inside of you, not underneath you. Because if you build a fire underneath somebody, they will stomp it out the second you walk away. You build a fire inside of somebody, it'll burn forever. You build that fire inside of yourself. So you keep putting forward, yeah, I got knocked down this time, but I'm going to get back up again. That's what it's all about. And that's what the book is all about, what the podcast is all about. And any of the seminars or coaching I do is teaching you exactly how to do that. Comfort zone's elastic. That's good news this way when it's expanding, because then you get more comfortable, but it can also go the other way if you don't keep pushing those boundaries.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I've done some coaching, and I have you can see a little vision board in the back here in the background. And, I got my kids on there, and I got a little saying that really keeps me going is, do you want a life that's easy or a life that's worthwhile?
Mm-hmm.
Right? And because, we can have the easy life, right? You can show up, clock in, clock out, and just, have that easy life. Or do you want a wife that's worthwhile? And, and I think as men too, especially, we have this purpose in life that, that we have. So anyways, guys, forever who's listening to this show right now, I really encourage y'all to get the book from Terry. We're not going to give it all away, but he really gave some good starting points that you can look at going into this year, and get the book and just go through this process. Like Terry said, 3 sheets of paper is all you need.
Yeah.
3 sheets,
Yeah.
right? And write it down, read them twice a day. And that works. I've done some, not this exact technique, Terry, which I'm going to actually check out myself as well, but I've done some stuff similar, and this works. There is a process where, I've done like writing down 3 wins and 3 goals at the end of the day. And it's good to focus on this. And when you do that, it's encouraging. It's like, oh, even though I thought I had a bad day, I actually did accomplish some stuff today. Right.
Yeah, absolutely. But here's the funny part, and hopefully you'll enjoy this. So you've got your vision board up there, which is great. That's your carrot, something to go toward.
Yeah.
You also just admitted that a while back you had some excuses you let get in the way.
Yeah.
If you had looked at your failure scenario during that and gone, what happens if I don't accomplish my goals, my daily tasks? You would have accomplished those daily tasks no matter what.
Yeah.
So I'll look forward to you working with this ox cart technique as well. I think you're going to find it amazingly powerful.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah. Thanks for pointing that out too, because that's yeah. I mean,
I'm there for you, man. We're there
I
for each
appreciate
other.
it, Terry. And you know what? I wanted to give the audience today just a live, raw view, and that's kind of why I wanted to be vulnerable here as well. And thank you for walking us through what you did and talking about your relationship and the failures and now the success you've had. But that process, right? Because a lot of people just see that, like you said, the #2 TEDx talk in the world, #1 New York best time selling author, right? They see all this and like, oh wow, I'd love to get, but there's a process to go through that. And Terry just shared how he got, how he's done it himself and now he's helping teach others. So again, highly encourage y'all to grab the book. And Terry, we're gonna the last segment of the show here is what we call the fire round.
All right.
And what we're going to do is go through 4 questions. First one being, besides your own book, have you which is great. Everything's going to be in the show notes for the listeners to check out. But could you recommend a book that's had a big impact on you throughout the years?
Wow. So many of them, right? Kiyosaki, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, I think is a fantastic one for making you understand income. Of course, I'm going to love T. Harv Eker and many of the stuff he's done. Secrets of Millionaire Mind. For one reason, he endorsed my book, so I'm going to promote him too, any chance I get. But yeah, I think those are a couple of really, really good ones to help you really understand wealth and how you can achieve it.
Yeah. No, that's it. I've definitely read Rich Dad Poor Dad, and that's had a big influence on my life. But I've heard the Secrets of the Millionaire Mind mentioned just recently, so I'm going to check that book out as well.
Blew my mind when T. Harv Eker endorsed my book. He wrote up really, really nice comments about it, like because this guy's been a hero of mine, for years and years. So yeah, I was tripping out at that one too.
Yeah, no, and we'll add that in the show notes too. All right, now if you could share a specific goal that you're looking at maybe for 2025, or a dream that holds special, or actually, let me reframe this. If you could share a goal that, maybe just one goal that you're really focused on for this coming up year, and a dream that holds special significance to you.
Interesting, because something just kind of hit today a little bit, maybe. First of all, goal. So I've just launched my own podcast, Comeback Chronicles. I mentioned it. And a goal is for it to be the #1 new podcast on Apple. Minimum, #1 new podcast on Apple. So we'll see how that goes. You guys can check it out, but I can tell you we've got the ox cart running on it. And then a dream. So I've got a team that wants to make me into a TV show, and that could be one of 2 things. They're kind of pushing the Dr. Phil concept, nicer version of Dr. Phil, where I'm actually taking people through coaching on TV. And that might go that direction. Since I won a survival reality show, I've got a survival or a adventure show concept that I just pitched to that team today that they're going to take it up and pitch to others. So that's kind of on the dream category. But we'll see, But I'm taking action on it. That's the bottom line. Just because I've got my own self-doubts on it, my own fears and everything else, I'm not going to make the excuses. Here we go.
Yeah, no, I love that. And of course, time just went by so fast today, but if you could give us a 2-minute, 3-minute overview of the show Survivalist and your journey through that,
Oh man.
If you could just, I hate to have you even sum that up in that amount of time.
No worries, man.
Yeah.
Okay. So first of all, I did not reach out to them. They reached out to me. I found out that I was going to be the oldest person on this entire show, pitting 10 of the top survival experts in the country against each other while dragging along a complete novice, somebody who's never even camped out in their backyard before, kicking and screaming. That's the name of the show. It's on Prime Video again right now. It aired at originally Fox Primetime TV, and it's been on Hulu. It's right now on Prime Video and Freevee. So my competitors, I found out, I'm going to be the oldest person on the show. My competitors are a bunch of special forces guys, a Marine Scout sniper, one of the baddest dudes I've ever met in my life, a mercenary who helped take out Saddam Hussein, a fourth degree ninja black belt that I'd seen on Naked and Afraid All Stars, except for the fuzzy parts, Marine survival instructors, and by the way, they wanted me to wear my Scoutmaster uniform representing all of Boy Scouts of America. So there's a lot more story to all of that we don't have time for. But again, you can watch the show right now on Prime Video, and I'll be going into that more on one of my podcasts as well. It's quite a story.
What was the biggest takeaway from that experience?
The biggest takeaway is what they hoped for from the show. My novice was complete polar opposite than me. And again, I'm the Scoutmaster. I'm the Boy Scout. I'm the Eagle Scout. She was a pink and blue hair, fully tattooed up, tongue ring, atheist, admitted sex addict, online video gamer. Who cares? It doesn't matter. And again, in scouting, we don't care about the kids' past. We take all kinds from everywhere. We care about their future. It's our job to accept them, motivate them, and elevate them. And that's what happened on the show. Vice versa. She was very strong, very competitive, and there's no way I could have won. This old fart Scoutmaster could have won without her. So it really was that, you know what? We all have our differences out there, especially these days, it seems. Instead of looking at how we're different, let's look at how we're similar, how we can work together anyway, because we're still one amazing country.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. Yeah. Thanks for giving us an overview of that. And I highly encourage y'all, go check out the show. It's it's on Amazon Prime.
It's on Amazon Prime right now and Freevee right now. It's on YouTube. I'm pretty sure it's on YouTube. Kicking and Screaming.
Kicking and Screaming. All right. Well, we go back to the questions here. I got a little sidetracked, but yeah, did want to touch on that. Sorry. How do you, and this is, I think, really going to tie into what we've been talking about for the past hour here, is how do you structure your day to maintain, I should say, your goals, a healthy work-life balance, right? And do you have a morning routine that you can share with us?
Absolutely. I wake up in the morning and the very first thought out of my head every single morning is, thank you, God, for the gifts you have given me. Please help me use them in your service. To me, you got to go through the day being thankful. And in my case, again, with my belief level, let's give credit where credit's due. I know me. I'm not that cool. God has given me all the gifts he's given me, right? Let's credit where credit's due and be appreciative of that. And now using that, in my case, again, for his service. Whatever you believe, I don't care what you believe, whatever it is, be thankful, be appreciative of what you've got. And then do your ox cart technique, man. Start the day off doing that, end it doing that, and just see what happens to your goals.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I love it. Do you do any like cold plunges or anything crazy like that?
Oh, God, no. I was born and bred in South Texas, man. And I am up here in Spokane, Washington, but my swimming pool stays at 88 degrees. Let's call it, man.
I hear you. All right. Last question, Terry. If you could be remembered for one thing, what would that be?
You know, I was asked this, well, actually at the Alliance's Grand Table, this couple that has an amazing podcast just, caught me outside one of the sessions and asked me, if there was 3 words you could be remembered for, what would they be? And it came to me immediately because it's real. 3 words. He truly cared. If I want to be remembered for anything, it's that I really do care. Because you know what? Success, financial success, all that, that's all nifty, but it's all crap if you don't care about other people. What a life that would be. Nah, if I want to be remembered for anything, it's I truly, truly cared. God willing, make a difference.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, Terry, this has been great. I've really enjoyed our conversation, and again, your simplistic approach on goal setting, and it's really that easy, folks. I mean, follow this technique, and if you could tell listeners how they can go buy the book, connect with you. Yeah, what's the best way to do that?
Yeah, absolutely. Probably. And again, we're just finalizing the book. We're get some more high level endorsements. Got a really cool one today. I can't say yet, but I think the easiest way is find everything off of terrylfossum.com. Terry, Terry, L, my middle initial. There's a reason for that. Fossum, Fossum.com. You can check out my TED Talk. Just Google TEDx Terry Fossum. That'll do. The book, Never Miss a Goal Again, hopefully will be again published very, very soon. And you can go to my podcast, comebackchronicles.com. Comebackchronicles.com.
Yeah.
There you have it.
Well, again, yeah, thank you. And I highly encourage y'all to, check out Terry, go get the book. Now, do you recommend people would buy the Oxcart tech, the first book first?
No.
Or this one? Okay.
Yep. Yeah, straight up. In fact, I'll always shoot straight with y'all.
Yeah.
The new book is got a lot of the same stuff that the Oxcart Technique Blueprint for Success had. I mean, verbatim.
Right.
But I've added in some more chapters that I thought were really important to help people even more. So don't buy the Oxcart Technique Blueprint for Success. Instead, buy the version you should see, even if you have to wait a little bit. It'll come out soon. Yeah. Never Miss a Goal Again. And you'll see the Oxcart Technique, Your Blueprint for Success on the front cover too, to help remind you that's what it's all about. So yeah, thanks for asking that. I appreciate that.
Yeah, no problem. Well, thank you, Terry. And yeah, I enjoyed it.
Same here, Jarod. Thank you again for everything you're doing to help people, man. I really appreciate it.
Awesome. Thanks, Terry. Thank you for listening to the Optimal Wealth Podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, please be sure to rate, review, subscribe, and pay it forward by sharing with a friend. Most importantly, be sure to optimize your results and take massive action on what you have learned here today. For more, visit optimalequitygroup.com.